No Man's Sky. This space survival game pulled off the biggest redemption arc in gaming history. You get an entire universe to explore with billions of unique planets. You start with a broken ship and slowly build massive bases, command entire freighter fleets, and discover weird alien creatures. The developers keep dropping massive free updates that totally overhaul how everything works. Whether you want to focus on space combat, trading across star systems, or just chilling and building a cozy base on a toxic planet, there's always something wild to do. It's the ultimate sandbox for anyone who wants to get lost in the stars for hundreds of hours. Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're finally going to feudal Japan, and it looks ridiculously gorgeous. You get to play as two completely different characters, and the gameplay variety absolutely slaps. You have Nawe for that classic stealthy ninja gameplay where you stick to the shadows and silently take out guards. Then you have Yasuke, a heavy-hitting samurai who just smashes through everything in brutal combat. The changing seasons actually impact how you play. Ponds freeze over in winter so you can't hide underwater, and spring brings tall grass for sneaky takedowns. It's a massive historical playground that finally gives fans exactly what they've been asking for. Red Dead Redemption 2. This is simply a masterpiece that sets the gold standard for how open world should feel. Every single inch of this map feels alive. You can spend an entire real-life day just hunting legendary animals, playing poker in a smoky saloon, or getting into random bar fights. The attention to detail is completely insane. The story of Arthur Morgan will absolutely break your heart, but the sheer amount of random encounters keeps you distracted for weeks. The shooting is weighty, the horse riding is top tier, and the world itself tells a story. It's a slow burn that ruins other games for you. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This RPG is legendary for a reason. You play as Geralt of Rivia hunting monsters and tracking down his missing daughter. The side quests here are better than the main storylines in most other games. You might agree to find a missing frying pan and end up uncovering a massive political conspiracy. The writing is incredibly sharp, and your choices actually matter in horrible, unexpected ways. Combat requires you to prepare with the right oils and potions before a big monster hunt. Plus, the two massive expansions add dozens of pure banger content. You'll never want to leave the continent. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This absolute banger completely changed how we look at map design. There are no map markers telling you exactly where to go. If you see a weird-looking mountain in the distance, you can physically climb to the top of it. The physics engine lets you mess around in hilarious ways, like attaching balloons to explosive barrels and dropping them on enemies. It gives you total freedom right from the tutorial. You can literally run straight to the final boss in your underwear if you hate yourself enough. It's a massive playground of pure exploration that never holds your hand. Elden Ring. The madmen at From Software took their brutal Dark Souls formula and dropped it into a giant, unforgiving world. The art style absolutely slaps, and every new area looks like a terrifying painting. You're gonna die a lot, but the beauty here is if a boss is stomping you, you can just hop on your magic horse and find better gear. The build variety is completely nuts. Whether you're min-maxing a massive tank swinging a giant sword or a squishy wizard blasting lasers, it just works. It's a punishing but highly rewarding masterpiece that forces you to explore every creepy corner. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Prepare for a hardcore medieval simulator where you aren't some magical chosen one. You're just a regular guy trying to survive a brutal civil war in 15th century Bohemia. There might be a little Euro jank, but the first-person combat is incredibly deep, requiring actual skill to master the swordplay. The open world is historically accurate and pulls you right into the muddy reality of medieval life. NPCs have their own daily routines, and dynamic events make the world feel alive. If you love deep RPG mechanics and zero fantasy, this historical sleeper hit will eat up all your free time. Grand Theft Auto 4. A lot of gamers still argue this is the peak of the franchise. Liberty City is gritty, gray, and feels incredibly authentic. The driving physics have actual weight to them, meaning you can't just take a corner at 90 miles per hour without spinning out. The story of Nico Bellic chasing the American dream is dark and surprisingly grounded. The Euphoria physics engine makes every shootout feel dynamic because enemies react to getting hit in totally different ways. It has this unique early 2000s vibe that still holds up, and causing absolute chaos in this specific city never really gets old. Cyberpunk 2077. Night City is hands down the most visually stunning open world ever made. The turnaround on this game has been crazy, and now it plays buttery smooth. You can build your character to be a stealthy netrunner who hacks enemies through cameras, or a cyborg maniac with blades popping out of your arms. The side gigs are fully fleshed out with wild characters and dark twists. Driving through the neon-soaked streets at night while listening to synthwave music is an absolute vibe. It's a mature, gritty RPG that finally delivers on the massive promises it made years ago. You'll easily lose 100 hours here. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. It's literally impossible to make a list like this without bringing up the GOAT. The sheer joy of picking a random direction and seeing what kind of trouble you can find is unmatched. You might plan to do the main story, but suddenly you're the leader of a secret assassin cult and own 3 houses. The modding scene on PC makes this infinitely replayable. You can turn it into a hardcore survival game, or just make all the dragons look like massive trains. It's the ultimate comfort game that still feels amazing to get lost in well over a decade later. Ghost of Tsushima. The art style in this samurai epic is absolutely gorgeous. Instead of staring at a minimap all day, you follow the blowing wind to find your next objective. It's a tiny detail that makes exploring the island feel incredibly natural. The combat makes you feel like an absolute badass as you perfectly parry attacks and slice through Mongol invaders. You can play honorably like a true samurai, or use dirty ninja tactics to clear out enemy camps. The world is packed with hidden hot springs, fox dens, and bamboo strikes. It's visually stunning, and the swordplay is just buttery smooth. Hogwarts Legacy. This is exactly the Wizarding World game everyone was dreaming about as a kid. The castle itself is a masterpiece of level design, packed with secret rooms, moving portraits, and hidden puzzles. You get to fly around the open highlands on your broomstick, tame magical beasts, and customize your own special room. The spell combat is surprisingly snappy and gets really chaotic when you start chaining different charms together. Exploring the Forbidden Forest at night genuinely feels spooky. Even if you only care a little bit about the movies, the level of detail built into this magical world is going to completely hook you. Death Stranding. This game is incredibly weird and absolutely brilliant. You're basically playing a post-apocalyptic delivery guy trying to reconnect a broken America. The terrain itself is your biggest enemy. You have to actively balance your cargo, place ladders to cross rivers, and use climbing ropes to scale mountains. It sounds like a boring chore, but it's weirdly addictive. As you build roads and bridges, they actually appear in other players' games to help them out. It has this wild sci-fi story full of classic Kojima weirdness. It's definitely a slow burn, but the relaxing hiking vibe totally takes over your brain. Batman Arkham City. This sets the standard for superhero games. You're locked in a massive walled-off prison city with the worst criminals in Gotham. Gliding around the snow-covered rooftops and dive-bombing into a group of thugs feels perfect. The free-flow combat system is so fluid that you can clear out 20 guys without taking a single hit once you get the rhythm down. The map is tightly packed with Riddler trophies and side missions featuring iconic villains. It doesn't waste your time with empty space. Every single alleyway holds a secret, making you genuinely feel like the world's greatest detective.
Shadow of the Colossus. This is a game that proves sometimes less is way more. There are no towns, no random side quests, and no minor enemies to grind. It's just you, your horse, and 16 massive boss monsters wandering a beautifully lonely world. The bosses themselves are actually the game levels. You have to figure out how to climb their moving bodies while holding on for dear life so you don't fall to your death. The atmosphere is totally haunting and quiet. It's a deeply emotional experience wrapped inside a simple concept, making it a legendary piece of art you have to play. Days Gone. This zombie survival game is the ultimate sleeper hit. You play as a biker named Deacon, surviving in a gorgeous but deadly version of the Pacific Northwest. Your motorcycle is basically your best friend, and you have to constantly scrounge for fuel and parts to keep it running. The real star of the show are the zombie hordes. Running into a group of 500 infected freakers flowing over the terrain like a waterfall is pure nightmare fuel. You have to use explosives, traps, and absolute panic to take them down. The story starts slow, but gets genuinely gripping the further you push. Final Fantasy 15. This feels like the ultimate road trip with the boys. You literally cruise around a massive, gorgeous map in a luxury car while listening to classic video game music. The party banter makes your crew feel like actual lifelong friends. When you hop out of the car, you get to hunt massive beasts using flashy, action-heavy combat that looks incredible. You can spend hours just fishing, taking photos, and cooking amazing-looking food at your campsite. It has some weird story pacing later on, but the core feeling of just hanging out and exploring this weird fantasy world is super unique. Mafia Definitive Edition. This is a stunning, ground-up remake that drops you right into the 1930s. The city of Lost Heaven looks incredible, especially when you're driving classic cars through the neon-lit streets at night. Unlike most open worlds, this game focuses entirely on delivering a tight, cinematic mafia story. There is no bloat or forced grinding. You're just playing through the violent rise of a cab driver turned ruthless mobster. The shooting feels dangerous, and the car chases are chaotic. It plays out like a classic mobster movie that completely pulls you into the old-school organized crime vibe. Far Cry Primal. This game took a massive risk by throwing you back to the Stone Age, and it totally worked. There are no guns or fancy gadgets here. You survive using bows, clubs, and throwing spears, while constantly watching your back for hungry saber-toothed tigers. The coolest mechanic lets you tame these ancient predators so they can fight alongside you. Taking over an enemy outpost by sending in a massive cave bear never stops being funny. The world is brutal, dense, and feels completely hostile. It completely strips away all the modern fluff and delivers a raw, aggressive survival loop that stands out.